I don't think he's done. When I saw Belichick last on December 23rd, 2023, night before his Patriots took on the Broncos in Denver on Christmas Eve on NFL Network, I saw a guy who was as engaged as ever. I saw a guy who may have known, the end is coming, or he may have been thinking, you know what, this ain't it anymore. I mean, he's a sharp man, Bill Belichick. This just in. But I saw a guy who loved to coach, loved the challenge, loved the X's and O's. And I know we all make fun of the moving on to fill in the blank. I know we make fun of the, mumbling and I won't give you anything. I'm not going to give anybody any insight into what we're doing. I'm not going to let anyone know what I'm thinking. I'm definitely not telling you who's hurt. He's the king of listing half his team as questionable, leaving you guessing. But this guy loves the challenge of coaching, and that's literally the way he approached everything, day by day, week by week, snap by snap, quarter by quarter. I've never met any other coach who could boil down a game literally to snap by snap, which is really what it is. You go to the line of scrimmage as your quarterback, you see the defense, you read it, try and read it pre-snap, you react to what is happening post-snap. You try to win the matchups that the defense provides you. You try to win the matchups that your offensive scheme provides you. And then you move on to the next one. And then you try to get the first down. And that's the way it is. You matriculate the ball down the field. But it's so difficult to actually live that way. It's so difficult to coach that way. He cracked that code more than any other coach that I've ever come across. With no disrespect to any other coach. Because nobody has the institutional knowledge of somebody who's been an assistant or a head coach in the NFL for 49 straight years, another record Belichick has. Nobody's able to ever say, you know what, that one time Jerry Rice kind of fooled us. That one time that there was a fumble on a snap in a 2-minute drill and the clock's running when Steve Young fumbled a snap. And then our defense wasn't ready. And then because our defense wasn't set because there was a fumble on a snap, he then went to Jerry Rice next for a touchdown. And I'll now use that in every single pregame meeting with my defense to go over the 2-minute drill. I mean, nobody, when I was sitting with him and he and Kurt Warner going back about X's and O's, I just, screw it. Because he wasn't really going to give us anything on the Broncos.
No, of course.
I said to myself, screw it. I even said this to Belichick. This one's for me. This question's for me. That's how I started it. And I said, what was your pregame scout of Kurt Warner going into your Super Bowl? And he starts talking about that Super Bowl and what Mike Martz was able to do and what Kurt was able to do and what Marshall Faulk was able to affect and what Isaac Bruce was doing. And then he just remembered how Kurt scored on a quarter. Do you remember Kurt scored on a quarterback sneak in that Super Bowl? Does that even ring a bell?
This is not. I know he hit a deep pass to Ricky Prohl, right? And then their other touchdown was a QB sneak.
He ran it in.
Interesting.
And he talked about how what really screwed him up were the two guards popped up and went out in the opposite directions to make it seem like that they might be running in either of those directions. They pulled and went in opposite directions, and Kurt just walked straight through.
Huh.
He also remembered how there was a hold on McGinnis that really wasn't a hold because he was holding, I guess, Marshall Faulk. And Kurt and him started arguing with each other that it really was a hold. And it was just like one of those, I wish I could have just recorded it. That was Belichick just remembering everything down. And, Sean McVay can remember everything from, 15 years ago, minute by minute. I'm not saying he's the only one with this capability, but he's the only one with all of these capability in one. which is why it's so mind-blowing that he and an owner would look at each other and say, yeah, this is just better if it doesn't happen anymore. But you look at the way that the Patriots have been constructed, and he's been in charge of that construction, and if there is somebody like Mike Vrabel sitting out there with the Patriot way, part of his DNA, and he's coming to the market, I totally understand that you look at that 48-year-old and say, let's go there. Or Gerard Mayo has been your guy in waiting, and you go, let's go there. And I wouldn't blame Kraft for saying to Belichick, then we need to go here in terms of the shopping of the groceries. And Belichick saying, yeah, at this point in my career, that's just not the way it works. And then they look at each other, and Bill goes, I could still have a place in Nantucket and coach anywhere else in the world. And those 6 banners, I'll come back in a red jacket one day when I feel like it. And we'll talk about them. You know, and so that's the way I'm looking at it right now. And, you know, I'm keen to know, obviously, what you have to say, Chris. And I'm keen to know what everyone else has to say at 844-204-RICH, number to dial. And I'm keen to know what Bill and Robert Kraft just said. And let's take a break so I can kind of get that settled in my head. But, I mean, we have 3 hours of real estate that I thought when I woke up today, we would be talking considerably about the modern day Bear Bryant.
Yeah.
If not the greatest college coach of all time from the Belichick coaching tree. So everyone's like, Belichick's coaches, you know, who are they? What have they done? And I understand that so many of them, from Patricia and McDaniels now twice, and also Charlie Weiss in Notre Dame, and Romeo Crennel had a nice hot minute every now and then. And you're looking at it, and the idea was always, hey, you know, in the same way that Peyton Manning was the only one able to operate his offense, only Belichick, with the championships in his back pocket, is able to have the Patriot way with the modern day athlete to buy into the program that these other guys just couldn't get their players to do. But everybody keeps forgetting about Nick Saban, you know, kind of from the Belichick tree. And I know he didn't do anything in Miami and all that stuff, but what he did at the collegiate level is the greatest of all time. You know, the greatest of all time. I thought we'd be coming on the air and talking about him, but instead we're talking about Bill for obvious reasons. Moving on from New England, the greatest combination of coach, quarterback, and organization ever. And I know I'm talking about the 49ers in their days with Walsh and Montana and DeBartolo. But for what the Patriots set up and what Belichick was able to effect with Tom Brady, and what Tom Brady was able to effect with Belichick and Kraft, greatest run of all time, 24 years. 6 trophies in the case. 6. Good luck to the Dodgers, by the way, matching that with Ohtani and Yamamoto and the rest of that team, and spending $1 gajillion on trying for it. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.